Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello, assalamu alaikum everyone. Today I am going to talk about immediate constituent analysis. It means the analysis of a sentence into its immediate components. We can break into the sentence's immediate parts, which mean the sentence's morphemes, and we continue the break-in, the segmentation, until the last meaningful unit, right? As I mentioned, the morpheme is reached. So there can be more than a single morpheme in a sentence, or there can be less than that amount. So we are supposed to break the sentence into its successive layers until the final layer is reached. So this is the process, and for the analysis we would prefer the using upright lines to separate the components. We could draw the tree diagram, but I think tree diagram would be suitable for phrase structure, grammar, or expert theory. Okay, so we have chosen a sentence, right? Let me tell you that the theory has some limitations, and among them that, right, every theory, every perception, even in human beings, we have limitations. So nothing to worry about the limitations, rather dwell with it. Okay, so this is the thing, that it couldn't provide much information about the sentence, right? And especially right, it couldn't show that some phrases are built on some words, so it couldn't show the relation. So apart from this, it is based on an assumption. It couldn't tell you about that this subject and this one is predicate. It wouldn't tell us even that. Okay, so the first here to separate, right, to split this sentence into two, and the first cut should be made between the subject and predicate, based on our assumption that this is the subject and this is associated with the behaviorist approach is a predicate. So I have another video on predicate, predication, predicator. You could experience that too, but we are with this sentence right now. So the first cut made between the subject and the predicate, right? And when we get the components, we need to give a direct reaction to each component, that is there any cutting, any segmentation remaining, right? Like Bloomfield. What about the second cut? So you need to put the second cut over here in Bloomfield and here. That one thing you need to recognize for the uh, analysis, right, for this segmentation, that this one is the prepositional phrase with the behaviorist approach. Is associated is a verb phrase. Bloomfield is a noun phrase. The noun phrase is within the prepositional phrase. And if you can't recognize them, it is so natural to the native people, right? They could easily tolerate, right? They could easily understand the relation. But what about us? We are not much of that. Okay, so this is the case. Bloomfield is not telling that this is a prepositional phrase. This is a verb phrase. The verb phrase includes the prepositional phrase. Bloomfield is not telling that, right? So pardon my pronunciation. It is not up to that mark. Okay, so this is the case. The second cut, right, should be at this phrase or in this phrase, but this is a proper noun. You cannot destroy the meaning of the word, right? It has to be meaningful, as I, right, told you about it. So we don't need to separate field from bloom, right? Okay, so the flowers should bloom in the fields anyways. Okay, so this is the verb phrase and this one is the prepositional phrase. So second cut should be over here. You are separating immediate constituents. So verb phrase is a unit. You cannot separate like that associated with the behaviorist, right? Is associated is connected to with the behaviorist, not associated, right? So this unit should be separated first, that we made. So we put the second cut over here, right, between the verb phrase and the prepositional phrase. Again, I like to mention that it wouldn't tell you that the verb phrases are built on the verbs, right, and so on. The prepositional phrase is built on the preposition. Okay, so the second cut made, we don't need to put any other second cut. So we get, after cutting this, after putting the second cut, we get two components, is associated and the with the behaviorist approach. The next line here, right, the third one would be given. So here the chance to give the third, right, in between is and associated. Remember, is and associated. And again the third to separate the preposition from the noun phrase. Remember this. And here the third one, right, between with, and the with is the preposition and the behaviorist approach is a noun phrase. The article, right, behaviorist is an adjective over here, approach is a noun, right? Be is linking and the verb with past participle. So there can be an argument whether whatever. So this is the case. The third would be given between, right, is and associated. The third one, right? Now you get the four parts in the predicate. Is associated, the four units, is associated with the behaviorist approach, right? Is cannot be cut, right? It is itself right now a content full of meaning, right? Now associated, now we have a chance to break associate, right? Here the associate is given the ed participle, right? So the t and e, right, the word ends in e, but e would be omitted when you alter it to, right, a past participle. The e wouldn't be count of the base form of associate. So the ed would be replace the e, remember. So it is a complex, you go through the adding the suffix to the word. Now you see with the right, with you get another after having right, would separated from the behaviorist approach. With cannot be cut right now. With cannot be separated. So the third one given, we put the simultaneous cutting, the segmentation with is associated, and with the behaviorist approach, right? With is separated from the noun phrase, and the be verb is separated from the verb in past participle. Remember this. The third is given. You get four components in the predicate, and is not separable, associate could be, right? With cannot be, and now the behaviorist approach. So each time it to maintain the cutting, remember, if you get the chance, right? So the next line, right, the fourth cut, for the placement of the fourth cut, right, associate is removed, right, is now given the distance from ed. Okay, and the remember the fourth cut is given, right, after the article, which is the determiner as well. So it is the that modifies totally the behaviorist approach, not like that, right? The behaviorist approach, right? That approach, you may guess, you may overthink that approach and the behaviorist, they are different, right? Different associations, but here the thing that it is the that actually dominates the later phrase behaviorist approach. The first, you need to remove the from this relation, and this is the head word in the noun phrase approach, right? Approach, behaviorist, this is the pre-modifier behaviorist. So fourth cut, right, is given, suppose for this stage at the noun phrase, and also the suffix is removed from the base form of the verb. Here after that we have the part of the noun phrase remaining, behaviorist approach. So in again we have to cut the approach from behaviorist. We need to remove the pre-modifier. The fifth cut is given in between behaviorist and approach, right? So this is not the end of it. We have the behaviorist, the word. So there is a possibility to separate the ist suffix from the word behavior. So now you have to give the last cut, which is sixth one, between behavior and the suffix. So this is it. This is how you analyze by the process, or you could call it the method, right? This is the process of cutting the sentence into its immediate parts, and this is how you reach the final layer of the sentence. So I appreciate your concentration, your attention, and thank you very much for listening to my speech. Allah Hafiz.